What's up, y'all? So I haven't uploaded in a while, any racing or anything like that. That's because, as the title of this video shows, I'll be going upgraded turbo, and I'll show you what turbo I'm gonna go with and why. So to start off, in order to do this, if you can come closer. So first, of course, you're gonna need oil. I use Motul 5W40. This is what I run in my car. You're gonna need it when you do your turbo swap, of course, and accompanied by oil filter and everything. So this right here is a TMAP sensor. So this is going to be neat. It's not really required for the turbo, which is the turbo that I'm going to be running. It's the Continental from the Mark 8 Golf R. If you don't run it, you'll be limited to 27, 28 PSI, but that turbo is able to go up to 30 PSI. So in order to do that, you can go ahead and get an upgraded TMAP sensor, which it would be a 5-bar, or you could just get the OEM Mark 8 Golf R TMAP sensor, which can handle up to 35 to 36 PSI. So it is possible to use with the Vortex turbo, but you're really riding the edge of the sensor. So if you're gonna do a hybrid setup or anything like that, definitely get a 5-bar. But if you're just doing the Continental, which is the Golf R turbo, this will be enough. And next up would be this is not really required. It's more of like, I guess you could say additive for your turbo. So you have to lubricate the turbo when it comes to installing it through the oil feed tube or hole or whatever it is. But this is a liquid Moly turbocharger additive. If you don't have this or you don't plan on buying it, you could just use the same oil and just spin the bearing and lubricate it and you'll be fine. Now, since this turbo is very limited due to fueling, I'll be on E40. On E40, it'll put me around 450 to 460 wheel horsepower, which I'm pretty happy. Not 460, 450. 460 is kind of pushing it, but for sure 450 wheel horsepower. It makes the same power as the PMAX turbo, the 2260, which is a direct bolt-on to the GTI. But with the Continental, it has a higher turbine ceiling and it flows better according to my tuner. That's why I went with the Continental as well. So you're going to need an ethanol sensor. This is me because I'm very tedious and stuff, but in order to mount your ethanol sensor, you're going to need a gauge holder. So this is a CGM gauge holder. It's basically screwed on like this, or yeah, like this, and it goes on your defrost vent. So it was 60 bucks. It's not really that much. You can also 3D print it if you're good at 3D printing stuff, but this is definitely going to be needed to hold your gauge. Now over here is going to be the ethanol sensor that I got, which is an Innovative Motorsport. My bad, let me show the box. Which is an Innovative Motorsport ethanol sensor. I think it's the cheapest in the market. Of course, you can go with Fuelit, which is a Bluetooth ethanol sensor, which works via your phone app. But this one, you're gonna need a gauge and everything. It's old school, you know how it's always been for years. So here's your ethanol sensor. This isn't included. I had to buy it from Advanced Auto Part. It is a Dorman 3/8 inch steel to 5/16 nylon fuel line. You're going to need this. No. My bad, the phone died, or the camera died to say. So you're going to need 3/8 inch steel to 5/16 connector. If you don't do this, you're not going to be able to, connect it to the fuel line. And yeah, I won't be doing an installation video or anything like that, but I think his name is CPO. All you have to look up is GTI ethanol sensor install, and it's the same for the Mark 8. So here's your ethanol sensor, your gauge, which you can see it's going to be mounted in here. So I'm not going to take it out, but you know the gist of it. Then you have your connector, which is going to connect to the ethanol sensor, of course, and then wired onto the rest. And yeah, it would be wired onto this. I don't know how to install this, someone is going to install it for me, so I'm not really worried about this. But that's basically what the kit includes. And over here is a very important component. I'm not gonna open it, I'm gonna go ahead and show a picture right here. So this is a low pressure fuel pump. Whenever you go big turbo on this car, you will need a low pressure fuel pump, so your OEM low pressure fuel pump doesn't struggle. This is mostly for the GTI. If you have a Golf R, it already comes with a brushless low pressure fuel pump from factory, so Golf R users, you guys are lucky. All you need is MPI. But for GTI, you have many options. You have the Unitronic low pressure fuel pump, the EQT low pressure fuel pumps that they offer. You could also do a Hellcat pump with stratified cells already in the basket ready to drop in, but I went ahead and took a different route, and this is an RS3 low pressure fuel pump. It is from the 8V RS3, not the new 8Y RS3s, and it's from Scskunkwerks. When you go on their website, it's going to say it's for the Gen 3, but I went ahead and reached out to them and they told me that it will work for the Gen 4. Everything's the same wiring and connectors. So that's basically it. This is kind of like the miscellaneous stuff. There's like supporting stuff in order to run the turbo. And up next would be, hold up. Up next would be, you can follow me. Alright, up next would be this big box right here. So I'm gonna go slowly by what I need. I got everything sourced or sorted by Shop ICWP. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link right here and, you know, around here somewhere. He really was the one that helped me out in order to make this happen, for the swap to happen. Since it's not a direct bolt-on, you will need a lot of additional stuff. So to start off, I have the blaze intake. So you're going to need the blaze. If you have a blaze intake, you're going to need the Golf R blaze intake hose, and it should be here somewhere. It doesn't matter, I don't care. You will need a Golf R inlet adapter for the Golf R. So, and this would go for the hybrid turbo as well, since every hybrid turbo is going to be based off the Golf R housing. So definitely this is an important key piece. This is if you have a blaze intake, like I said, and if you don't, just get the respective parts for a Unitronic intake, APR intake, or whatever intake you're using. You're definitely going to need a Golf R intake assembly system. So that's that. Then up next is going to be the hardware. So here's all the hardware, the gaskets, the nuts, the gasket for the turbo when you mount it, and also, I'm gonna take it out real quick. You're going to need the Golf R fuel oil line. So on the GTI, it's not the same, it's completely different. So if I'm seeing this right, it's going to be connected from here, and then it routes all the way to the back of the turbo like this to the firewall. So this is definitely going to be needed. Like I said, if you go ahead and buy it from Shop ICWP, he's going to make a small little kit for you with everything, as you can see right here. Mark Gate GTI to Continental hardware, and here's the website actually. So what I said before that I was going to put it there, I didn't put it there. So here it is, shopicwp.com. Let me put this back. You could also get this from ECS. You know, you can make the kit yourself, but he already does everything for you, and it's like $130 for the hardware. So definitely worth it. Now up next, if you can come over here, it's going to be the most important component for all of this. It's going to be the APR GTI to Golf R retrofit kit. So in order to run the Continental Turbo, any hybrid, anything based off the Golf R turbo, you're going to need this kit. It's a very simple kit. It basically reroutes the diverter valve. Since it sits below the turbo, you're going to need to reroute it, of course. And the most important part would be the extended harness. Connect to the diverter valve, and then it's going to route to the top. but this is very important. I know this is a lot, especially for this generation of GTIs, since the Gen 3, it was a simple swap and go. Wasn't really all of this hassle needed, but APR on their website, under the product, they do have an installation manual, so it's very easy. I read through it. I'm not going to be installing it like I said, but it's very easy. It's just an additional step to the turbo swap. And lastly would be the turbo. It's not heavy, but you gotta put some effort to it. So here is the turbo. We can take it out. My bad, y'all. So here we have so here we have our wastegate actuator rod. It already comes installed on the turbo. Here's our connector for the wastegate actuator. When you install this, make sure to adjust this, because you're going to have to loosen this portion and adjust this to, I think it's between 3.5 to 3.8 volts. If not, you won't build any boost. So now to look at the hot side of the turbo, if you can go ahead and show the inside. You see right here, this is the turbo. Here's where it opens up. It's very big compared to the GTI one. There's a little bit of grease on it, but it's whatever. So this is the hot side. Now if I go over here and flip it over, this is the cold side right here. Here it is. This is where your turbo inlet will go, you know, to mount it and stuff. And yeah, that's basically it. So this is what's coming to the car. I'm gonna be making more power now, and I just put grease on my bed. That's wonderful. Great. I'll clean it. And how do you put this on? I always forget. Oh, I'm an idiot. Right there. And then of course get this and, you know, cover it up. So yeah, that's basically it. That's everything that you're going to need in order to make this happen, even for the hybrid turbos. So this also applies to the new Vortex XL that EQT just dropped. Now the reason I didn't do that, even though you're probably like, oh, why didn't you do the hybrid turbo since you already have all the components, it wasn't pricing. It was just gonna be $1,000 more compared to this turbo, so that wouldn't have been an issue. But the issue is, it's not really an issue. It's me more of like, you know, I care for my car and it's my daily. I would be limited to 93 on direct injection, but I would be making around 450 wheel horsepower, so I would be making the same power on 93 that I would be making on this turbo on E40. I don't want to stress out my fuel system, which would be my direct injection system. Direct injection systems are very, very, very sensitive. That's why most of them can't handle full E85. Luckily, the GTI can handle full E85. The Golf R can as well, but you're gonna have to reduce the power a lot in order to run full E85. That's why I'm running E40, so I can get the most out of the turbo and keep my fuel system happy. But I'm not gonna take that risk with the Vortex or anything like that in the meantime. Who knows when MPI will be coming out via Cobb. There's MPI already offered through Unitronic, but Unitronic is OTS based. So the only turbo you could run with them is the 2260, and the other tuning company that is offering MPI would be United Motorsports. They're a great company, tuning company and everything, but in order for me to flash the car, I need to go to a dealer. So that means a shop that works with them. Second, if I have any problems with the car, I would have to go to the shop as well. So there's no data logging or sending emails or, you know, just hitting up your tuner and be like, yo, my car feels off, can you check it out, this and that. No, you have to make an appointment, drive to the dealer, get it data logged, then the tuner views it. So it's a lot of hassle for me, and I work Monday through Friday. You know, I have a full-time job, so I don't have time to do that, and the shop is only open Monday through Friday, which is my nearest United Motorsports dealer. So in the meantime, I want to play it safe, make a decent amount of power, on E40, keep the car happy, and it would place my 60 to 130 around the 8 seconds around there. So I'll be happy with that. Plenty races when it comes to that power level. But oh, by the way, total cost of the turbo kit, which would be, of course, the turbo, APR kit, the hardware, and the intake assembly, was around 1,400. You know, plus tax, but it's 1,400. Very cheap, not bad. If you do decide to get the turbo is also pretty cheap compared to the other options. It's $850 from the dealership, I think. That's how much it is, retail price. So it's not an expensive turbo. And this is a plus. If you look at the pricing, the PMAX, the 2260, is 1,600 if you buy it via Unitronic. And all of this cost me 1,400 to make the same power that the PMAX 2260 makes. Now, let's say you do have the PMAX 2260 installed, and let's say you're just like, all right, I've had my fun, MPI came out, this, and that. I want to go ahead and go with the Vortex XL. You bought the PMAX 2260 for 1,600. Now you have to go ahead and buy hardware kit, APR Retrofit Kit, and the intake system for the Vortex XL because it's Golf R based. So you're already spending double. While in the meantime, I spent 1,400 to make the same power that the PMAX 2260 makes. I'm already going to have the APR Retrofit Kit installed. I'm going to have all the hardware necessary installed as well. I'm going to have the Golf R intake system installed as well. So whenever I decide to go Vortex XL, when MPI comes out, it's a simple swap and go. That's it. So it's up to y'all. This is the route that I'm taking. There's not that many GTIs, Mark 8 GTIs out there doing this. As in like a Continental swap. They're mostly, you know, doing this basic direct bolt-on PMAX 2260. I'll of course be posting results. I'll post the initial startup, of course, the first data log, and 60 to 130s, races, and see where this turbo would put me at. So this is basically it for stock turbo. I haven't uploaded, like I said, in a while. I'm going to put some races that I have got. Oh my god, I can't speak. Shut up. I've compiled some races that I have gotten from the time being of my last upload. There, that's how to say it. And one of the races there is probably going to impress y'all. So yeah, that's actually how well performing the Mark 8 GTI is on stock turbo. Keep in mind, I do have lightweight wheels, I have weight reduction, and I have probably different mods compared to your GTI, so results may vary. So don't go out there trying to race that same car. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all when all of this is installed, ready to go.